Welcome all. Welcome to the webinar hosted by Qfuss today, and we have Mr. Shyam Sundar. So let me start with Qfuss first. What is Qfuss? Qfuss is an on-demand mentorship platform. We hold a community of quality mentors, experts, and leaders who guide individuals personally and professionally towards their journey of success. So we do have a list of mentors on our website, and people can access our website to arrange a meeting with their mentors. And we have been receiving a lot of mentor requests in the last few months, and mostly it's from entrepreneurs. And hence we thought, why not have a webinar for all of these entrepreneurs and collectively answer all the questions and all the queries they have. Mostly the questions were related to topics and challenges faced during the initial stages of the startups. I think it's going to be a really interesting session today. And today we have Mr. Shyam Sundar, CEO, founder of GoFloaters. So GoFloaters is the future of office. It solves one of the major problems. It's an on-demand space for entrepreneurs, freelancers, and independent consultants. Basically, the Airbnb of office space at the moment. Over to Mr. Shyam, so you can take it forward from there.
Super. Thanks, Rohan. Thanks to the Qfuss team. I think it's an awesome initiative of connecting candidates with mentors, or connecting budding entrepreneurs with mentors, because it's one of the underrated things is mentorship and guidance in the early stage of your startup, right? I was very fortunate to have very quality mentors, and in spite of that, I made hundreds of mistakes. But if I didn't have mentors, I would have probably made thousands of mistakes, right? So, So yeah, it's always it's good to have a sounding board, a person that you respect, a person that you think can help you make the choices, right? So with that, I'll get into my presentation. I think we've got a few people. See, one thing I don't know how I will do once I start sharing the screen, would I still be able to admit people? Something that I don't know. Well, do it, but anyway, we'll figure this out as things go. Okay, so I have a slide deck. The slide deck is probably only to kind of help you remember whatever I say, right? It's not a thing that you do not find it to be a heavy content, just for you to read through and remember things as if you found something to be interesting, useful, then you can remember that mnemonics that I've used in the slide, right? So as Rohan introduced me, I'm the founder of GoFloaters. This is my second startup. My first startup was in the insurance tech space. So this slide, I mean, Rohan and Siddharth reached out to me asking, hey, could you talk about challenges that you faced in your early stage as you build these two startups, right? And to the point that they are right now there. I said absolutely, because like I said, right, it's been 40 months that I've become an entrepreneur after working for almost 18 and a half years in a corporate world. Became an entrepreneur in 2017. So, and I've made mistakes, like I said, right? I've made hundreds of mistakes. And I've been fortunate also to have a lot of mentors. But I see that a lot of other entrepreneurs don't have the same network, or don't have the same connections to get the right mentorship. So just why I thought my mistakes, if it obviously I can't go fix them back in time. I've learned from those mistakes, but if my mistakes can help somebody else not repeat them, then it's going to be useful for them. That's the only purpose for which I'm doing this kind of session, right? And with that said, it's also my experience, so it's not a golden rule. So don't quote me saying, "Hey, Shyam, you said this 2 years back, and I did this, and I still ended up in a mess," right? So it's up to you to assimilate this and contextualize this to your own business, and then take this forward, right? And like Rohan introduced, GoFloaters is an on-demand office space or a workspace startup. So we help people find, book, and use flexible and affordable workspaces. We started in 2017 with just 3 locations in Chennai. And as we speak, we are in 8 cities with over 1,000 spaces to offer on our platform, right? Through mobile app or through web, you can book these spaces on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly basis, right? So basically, the whole idea is like office should also become a service. It should not become it should not remain an asset or a liability or a fixed cost for any person, right? For any individual or for any business. It should be utility that you should be able to tap into whenever, wherever. Right? That's the whole idea. That was behind GoFloaters, right? And one of you has asked a question: what is your motivation to become an entrepreneur? I'll probably answer it along the way, right? So, and this webinar I've kind of structured into 3 parts. Just before section of the time of your journey that before you become an entrepreneur, and you've just started a company or just started a business, what challenges and some things that you could apply to uh, uh, fix them, and finally, once your startup or business starts to grow, then what challenges you would face and how do you kind of probably address them, right? Again, these are all tips from my own experience, right? There could be hundreds of ways to solve problems, right? This is the first stage of you're just thinking of becoming an entrepreneur, or you're just thinking of starting a business. Then what should you be really sure about, right? So first and foremost, I think uh, my biggest question to you is, like, if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, my biggest question is, like, why do you want to become an entrepreneur, right? So a lot of people I've seen, right, when I've been networking with other entrepreneurs, so they have very superficial or very flimsy reasons why they want to become an entrepreneur. Right? Hey, I want to make money, or I want to be my own boss, or I want to have the title of of a founder or a CEO or whatever you want to call it. So those are not great reasons to become an entrepreneur, right? So the only, I think, in my opinion, the only reason why you'd want to become an entrepreneur is that you see a problem in the society that nobody else is solving, and you want to solve it, right? And you're frustrated enough that you don't want to spend another day wading through the problem, and you want to solve that problem, right? So that, I think, is the only reason why you want, and you think that in whatever you do today, whatever job you have today, whatever whatever you're doing today, you cannot solve the problem, right? You have to start something by yourself to be able to solve the problem, right? So that I think is the only reason, I think, very strong reason, right? There could be a few other reasons, but that's a very strong reason why you should be, if you don't have that as the answer question, right? Then you have to figure out, right? Then you have to still ask a question, ask this question to yourself as to why you want to become an entrepreneur, right? Because in my opinion, if this is not strong, right, you will probably quit the journey of entrepreneurship prematurely, right? If you're not very sure about why you are becoming an entrepreneur, you might quit it. And I've seen this, right? So my first startup, I was incubated. My first startup was incubated at Founders Institute, right? So 22 of us joined. Finally, 5 of us came out of the entire incubation process, right? So remaining 17 of them quit even before starting their company, right? In the incubation period, so they kind of quit the journey, right? So only 5 of us probably had a very strong desire and reason to become an entrepreneur, right? Otherwise, all this 22 would have come, right? So that is the first thing I would say, right? Second thing I would say is, like, are you are you ready to become an entrepreneur once you know that, hey, yes, I want to solve this problem, I want to kind of make a difference, I want to kind of go build something new that the world has not seen, and I want some section of the world to benefit from my idea, or my invention, or my technology, or whatever be it, right? So then, are you ready to become an entrepreneur? This is my second question that I would ask you, right? In my own personal life, right, it took me almost 2.5 years to answer this question, right? I believe it or not, right? It took me 2.5 years to answer this question as to, am I sure I'm ready to become an entrepreneur? Right? And in my case, it would have taken 2.5 years. Might not be necessarily the same with you, but I was not sure in the sense, hey, is it worthwhile taking this risk, right? What would happen if it fails? What would happen? I had a family. Like I said, I had 18 years of experience. I had good salary, good respectable job. I was growing in the company that I was working for. My journey was actually very satisfactory to my own desires. So I had to answer a lot of questions to say, hey, in spite of all of this, I want to become an entrepreneur, right? And I'm ready for this, right? I'm ready for the challenge that I'm going to take. I'm ready for the risks that I'm going to face with this. And then you go to this, right? And another reason why I think this question, again, you have to answer for yourself. I had failed trying to convince my wife that I want to become an entrepreneur, because I was not sure that whether I wanted to become an entrepreneur in the first place. Right? Because the moment you become one, you have to start answering a lot of difficult questions to your own family members, to your own friends, sometimes, right, to your parents and all that, right? So if you are not internally sure that you want to become an entrepreneur, that's the only way that you want to lead your life after a point in time, your family is not going to feel comfortable. Again, it depends, right? Some of you might not have uh, spouse or children where you have to worry about it. It's probably just you, if you're a bachelor. Then there's nobody else dependent on you. But if you're beyond that point, this is very critical for you to kind of understand why you are doing it. And then I would also say keep a plan B and ready. Plan B, at least have a plan B. Hey, if this entrepreneurship thing doesn't work, I'll at least have something to go back to. Right, I can always go back get a job. Right, I can always do something. Help my father with his business, or do something else. Help my mother with her business, or whatever. Right, have a plan B so that you know that you don't fall down and kill yourself. Right, while it is always necessary that you don't depend too much on this plan B, right? You after you've decided, you have to only focus on your business or your journey, but have a plan B so that you at least, hey, what's the worst case that's going to happen, right? Worst case, I'm going to be a fail. I mean, I'm going to fail with the startup idea or fail with the business idea. I always have something else to survey, right? So you don't become too frustrated or too tensed or anxious just because, I mean, you're betting everything on this, and then if that doesn't work out, then you're kind of you think that your life is a failure. That's probably the last thing that you want to think about, right? So that's probably, these are three main questions, I would say, three main challenges, right? These are all internal challenges, right, as you can see, right? So it's all about your way of thinking, and your way of motivating yourself, and your way of making yourself ready for a very long, hard journey for most of us, right? And entrepreneurship is that, right? So I don't want to kind of make it. I mean, and if you had seen the Ritesh Agarwal interview with Sharda Sharma, your story, right? So overnight success happens after 5 years or 10 years, right? There's nothing called overnight success, right? Very, I mean, most of the businesses, you might see it as an overnight success, but they've struggled with this for years and years together. They've probably pivoted. They've probably killed multiple ideas before they become what they become, right? So obviously you start reading them only once they become success, and you think, hey, suddenly it all happened like just overnight, right? But that's not the case for most of the businesses that are successful today, right? So, so with that, let me go to the second part of what I wanted to cover, right? In terms of, okay, you've decided that you want to become an entrepreneur, you've chosen what you want to do, or you at least have a fair bit idea of what you want to do as an entrepreneur, right? So then, how do you kind of, what challenges would you have to go through, and how do you overcome some of that, right? So, so I think the biggest challenge, or the biggest place where I think many startups fail, and it was the reason for my startup also to fail, in my first startup also to fail in a way, is that putting idea before the problem, right, is always a recipe for failure, right? It's probably so, because you might have a brilliant, I mean, you, without knowing the problem really well, or without understanding the problem really well, and more importantly, who's facing this problem and how big is the problem for them, before understanding all of this, if you get on to you get a spark of an idea from somewhere, or you hear idea A, idea B, and then you want to put it together, and you come up with an idea C. Uh, it's always a recipe for disaster, right? In my opinion, right? So for me, problem always comes first. Spending a lot of time understanding the problem, spending a lot of time with people who have this problem, and understanding what is their customer journey, or what is their journey, and where do they face this problem, and why do they face this problem, how frustrating is this problem to them, right? And what are the alternative ways in which they've tried to solve this problem, if at all they have solved this problem, right? What is the mechanics of this problem, and what is the, if you had to come up with a solution to this problem, what would that look like, right? And what would the economics of the solution look like? And how, if you had that solution in hand, how would you take it to people? How would you distribute that solution to people? Without thinking about all of this, if you kind of start your business or start your idea, or start working on your idea, I think it's, you might get lucky, and you might win, but 9 out of 10 situations, you're actually starting from the wrong point, right? Understanding the problem really well is always better, right? And the easiest way is, like, if you are the person who's having the problem, it's always easy, because you know yourself well, you know why you face the problem, and you know why it's frustrating for you, right? That was the case with my second startup, which is GoFloaters, right? In my first startup, I was not the customer, right? The customer was business owners. And I didn't know too much about them. I didn't know too much about their challenges, and I started that insurance tech startup as my first startup, right? I didn't understand the problem enough to be able to solve that, right? Only when I got into talking to them after like 4 or 5 months of starting the businesses, I realized that, hey, I didn't understand the problem in the first place. I didn't understand their customers, my potential target customers' priorities, right? And whether it's going to be viable or not, right? I didn't spend much time understanding that, right? Whereas my second startup, which is GoFloaters, I was the customer of my startup, right? I know what I wanted to have for myself as a solution. So it became much more easier for me to understand the problem, articulate the problem to somebody else, and understand if they also have the same problem, and go from there, right? So that's probably I would say, the one biggest thing that I would say as a challenge or a mistake that you should probably avoid, which I did with the first startup, right? The second thing that I think challenge that I think startups have is like they want to create a perfect product and then take it to market, right? And this is a topic that's been spoken by many people. I don't think so. Any startup webinar will probably not talk about MVP or quick validation of the problem or validation of the idea, right? Because that's how important it is, right? And in spite of that, I still see a lot of startups working on their software or working on their idea for like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, and then deciding to launch, right? And the launch date is always, hey, next month we should launch it. And then the next month comes, it's like put off by another 15 days. Hey, we wanted to add this one last feature into this. And once we do that, we will launch it out, right? If you're doing a alpha like 7 months from now, and we do a beta like 1 year from now, and we do a public launch like 1.5 years from now, right? So I would say all that is crap. So you should go out, even if you have a very bad version of your product, even if you don't have a product, right? I think you can still start to validate your idea, test your idea very quickly, right? And again, I'll take my own example of my first startup, right? Which was SMB Sure. I started that in March 2017, and till December 2017, I didn't have anything to launch. I didn't launch, right? I just had an idea. I just had I had a fair bit of understanding of problem over after these 8 months of working on it. I had spoken to 100 odd potential target customers, and I had software that was like probably half baked, I would say, but I still did not launch, right? I was still waiting for, hey, this product should look like this before I can launch, right? With my second startup, and I pivoted from the first startup of SMB Sure into GoFloaters. On December, exactly, I'll tell you, right? December 12th, I decided to switch between SMB Sure and GoFloaters. And December 14th, my GoFloaters idea was live. December 14th, I had the first customer make a booking on GoFloaters, right? So in 2 days, I had a customer booking and had revenue being generated from the idea, right? So that's how drastic my approach from the first startup to the second startup was, right? And I'm here very thankful to a mentor who kind of challenged me to do this, right? And his name is Mr. Sukumar. Okay, am I audible? Is there a challenge with audio? Okay, I think there's probably some background. Hey guys, you guys are able to hear me, okay? Can one of you come out of mute and tell me if my audio is okay?
Yeah, the audio is okay. I think I muted the person. Don't worry.
We can hear you.
Sure. Okay, thanks. So this mentor, his name is Mr. Sukumar. So he kind of, he's the ex-chief innovation officer of Cognizant, right? So he kind of challenged me to say, hey, I will give you 0 rupees to test this idea, right? To test it, I challenge you to test your idea of GoFloaters with 0 investment. And if you can do that, then you spend your time on the startup, right? Otherwise, go get a job for yourself, right? That's what he challenged me on December 12th. Exactly at 7:30 a.m. we met at Sangeeta in Medavakam. On December 14th at 1 p.m. I had my first booking, right? So it's hardly in a matter of like 48 hours or so. I had the valid of the idea, right? So that you could do that, right? And how did I do it? I just launched it on WhatsApp. I just said to all my friends and all the WhatsApp groups that I was part of, I said, hey, This is the idea. If you need a space, just message me. I'll send you photographs of the spaces that I have in Chennai. If you like it, send a message back to me. I'll send you a payment. I'll send you the Google Maps location. I'll send you the payment link, and you just pay. And then once you're paid, I'll confirm the booking for you. Right. So that's how I was able to quickly test an idea. For almost 1.5 months, it remained a WhatsApp-based service. Right. I had around 100 bookings just in the 2.5 months using this WhatsApp, and I had a spreadsheet to manage the payments and collections and all that. So Google Sheet and WhatsApp, that's all I had for 2.5 months, right? Once I could validate, I could understand, I could do a lot of pricing experiments, I could do a lot of variations and A/B testing with that and value proposition testing and all that, is when I put the first rupee into investing into something from a technology standpoint, right? So that's basically would be my biggest learning, and I would say my biggest advice to all of you, right? Uh, the second, I mean, this is another thing that is kind of following from the previous one, right? So today is always 100 times better than tomorrow, right? Tomorrow is a day that never comes, right? So again, saying that, hey, launch tomorrow, it's just ready, almost ready. I have just one final tweak to do and all that, right? Is the further you delay, you're actually reducing your chances to be able to validate a product, your problem and the idea that you're trying, the solution that you're trying to come up with to solve the problem, and you're also making it difficult for you to pivot from there, right? Because you already have a baggage behind you. Once you spend 5 months, 6 months, 7 months building an idea or building a solution or building your business and you've not launched, you just have too much of baggage, right? You just have too much of baggage and you have too much of attachment to that idea and you have too much of ego associated to the idea that if the market says, hey, I don't like it, it comes very hard on you, right? When you take a very when you take the idea without having to invest a lot of time, and somebody says, hey, I don't like this, but if it was this way, I would have loved it, then you're not attached to it so much that you can actually easily change it. So that way you can be a lot more agile and nimble if you go to the market as early as possible, rather than waiting for it. And start with what you have. You don't have to have the perfect product. You don't have to have a mobile app. You don't have to have anything, right? You don't even have to have a website. You can launch it on Facebook. You can launch it on any WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or any platform that's freely available to you. You can just start from there, and you can even launch a Google My Business and launch your business from there. And you don't need to invest on anything from a technology standpoint to start your business, right? And this is a question that I asked, right? Hey, I don't have money. How do I start a business? You don't need to have money, right? My GoFloaters business, I started with an investment. Even though Sukumar said start with 0 rupees, my investment for the 2.5 months, apart from my time, obviously, was 900 rupees, right? So I bought a fancy mobile number so that people can WhatsApp me without having to remember the number, very hard number, right? So I just had a fancy number. That's the only investment I made, and 2.5 months I had I made a profit, right? I in fact made a profit. I recovered my 900 rupees from the 2.5 months of bookings, right? So you don't need to have huge truckloads of money to be able to start a business, right? So a lot of people who think money is a challenge, I would again challenge them saying that money is not a challenge. It's the way you're thinking. You're adding money as a prerequisite or a precursor to starting something, right? You might be able to do it in other ways where money doesn't become a challenge to start your idea, start your business, right? This is another thing that I would add to another challenge that you might have as an early stage entrepreneur, right? It's like you might have a great idea, right? A lot of us don't think whether it become a great business, right? A lot of times the idea might be absolutely fantastic, right? But it might not have a business. It cannot become a business either because the number of people who face that problem might be very small, right? It might be just your neighborhood or just people in a particular segment of the society where you can't make a business out of it, right? That could be a reason, right? Are enough people facing the problem for you to be able to solve the problem, for you to be able to take it to all of them, right? Number two, how frustrating is the problem to them, right? Are they willing to pay for a solution to that, right? If the customers are not, hey, see, a lot of people will tell you, hey, this is a problem. Yeah, yeah, I like every day I spend half an hour trying to, I scold everybody because this doesn't get solved, right? But the moment you tell them that, hey, I'll solve this for you, but are you willing to pay 100 rupees to me to solve that problem, right? Then they'll say, hey, I want to pay a problem, but it's not that big a problem. 100 rupees and all that is too much to solve the problem. I'm okay. I can live with the problem, right? So a classic example I'll say is like, if you had a startup idea that will deliver newspapers exactly at 5:30 a.m. Every day morning, right? So that the person who wants to read the newspaper at 5:30 a.m. has the fresh printed paper in their hand, right? Newspaper in their hand. could be a great idea, right? Delivering newspapers on time at 5:30 a.m. sharp, right? Could be a great business idea, right? But can it be a business? If you ask them, hey, the paper will cost you, normal Hindu costs you 2 rupees, but I'll charge you 5 rupees more because I'm going to deliver it to you at 5:30 a.m. exactly, right? People say, hey, I'm okay. If you deliver it at 6 a.m. also, I'm okay. Even if you don't deliver it, I'm okay. I'll go online and read it, right? But how can you charge 5 more rupees for a newspaper that only costs 2 rupees, right? So that could be the challenge, right? So do you have uh, you not really? I mean, that's a challenge I see, right? A lot of people have great ideas, right? But forget the fact that it also has to become a business, right? Because every startup, every business need not be a startup, but every startup has to be a business at some point in time, right? Forget the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world who took like 10 years to figure out their business, right? You and me are not in that. You and me are not that, right? So we need to have a business. You need, if you have an idea and you want to take it, it should be a business from day one, in my opinion, right? So again, few people can get lucky, but not that may not be you and me, right? Uh, the Yeah, I'll probably want to take a pause here to see if there are any questions anybody wants to. Is there anything that or am I going too fast? Anything that people want to share before I get past this, because I don't want to kind of keep saying in a monologue and not understand the pulse of what you're looking at from this.
Right, right. Sorry to interrupt, Sham. Your video is not clear. I just wanted to say that before we take up questions.
Okay.
Your background is overlapping your.
Yeah, your image.
Okay. Let me just take that off then. I think once again, just give me a second. I mean, it's hardly should okay. It's hardly should be a botheration because I think the light went down, so the Zoom virtual background is screwing up. So we take it off.
Shyam, Vishwa here.
Yes, Vishnu.
Okay, earlier you were talking like you shared your idea with your families and friends and to start with your first entity.
Right.
I have a question over here. Like when
Yeah.
you any idea when you start and you give input your family, right? As a well-wisher, your friends or your family, as a well-wisher, they usually say like, "Wow, that's a good idea. You can proceed forward." They won't hurt you. I mean, though. What do you say? Though they may see that idea is very complex or
Yeah. Yeah.
as a well-wisher,
Yeah.
they would appreciate
Right.
instantly
Right.
without even understanding the problem. So did you?
The only, see, I'll probably give a quick answer, Vishwanathan, right? The only validation that makes sense or that has any validity is the customer who's going to pay you money, right? Unless the person who's going to pay you money doesn't give you a thumbs up, right? Any other validation is of no use, right? Right. Like I said, hey, I shared the idea with you, you might say, hey, this is the best I've heard in the last 20 years, right? This is the best idea that I've heard, right? But you're not going to pay me money, right? You're not going to. It's not a problem that you face, right? So you telling me a thumbs up is of no use to me, right? So only boosts my ego, or it only boosts my own interest level in that idea. But beyond that, it's of no use. Right? Obviously, you need the motivation as an early stage entrepreneur. You don't need a lot of people around your circles to tell you that, hey, this is great, right? You need motivation, right? But that's not validation, right? Uh, uh, See, I mean, if you post a photograph on Facebook, or if you post a thing on LinkedIn, right, and if only your employees like it on LinkedIn, it's of no use, right? So, or it's of very little use. It's only like, hey, you are happy that your employees did it, but then your purpose of posting something on LinkedIn is to ensure that people beyond your own circle probably get to know about some interesting things that you're working on. So that will be my quick answer to your question. But again, my point that I was saying, Vishwanathan, is like not even the idea, right? The fact that you want to become an entrepreneur itself is something that your family has to bless it, right? Because otherwise, it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a nightmare every now and then. Hey, because you became an entrepreneur, this is happening. Because you did this is happening. Right? So you obviously need your family to be you. I was talking about even before you have an idea and you share your idea with your family, you have to solve for that. Right? Okay, so let me. Any other questions, or shall I proceed?
I think you can proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing that I see is like, and I was having this challenge with GoFloaters even, right? Is that the moment I said, hey, I have this idea, and I had this few bookings happening in December of 2017. I said, hey, this is great. I'm going to take it to. I'm going to. Hey, this is useful for customer A, customer B, customer C, customer D, and I had like, I mean, this is the market size and all that, right? I think that's a big mistake to make as an early stage startup, right? Thinking that not even the whole world, right? But even 1% of the world is your customer is actually a bad idea. Not just the reason that you can't reach them, but the point is like without even making one type of customer extremely delighted with what you offer, trying to replicate that model to somebody else is going to be a super waste of time, right? You don't know what's the right way to scale that idea, right? So trying to scale it too soon is a big mistake, right? One second, guys. One second, guys. Just give me a second. Sorry. Okay. I'm audible back. So okay. So basically, I believe that the best way to kind of, even for the first year or year and a half of a business, is to just think that you just have one customer, right? When I say one customer, I don't necessarily mean there's only one customer, right? And you're selling to the same customer. I mean one category or one type of customers, right? So if, for example, if you're building an educational app, right? You just think that only students of a particular a class or a particular subject, right? Mathematics is what I'm going to take, right? Or if I'm going to take only students in the 11th standard who have this particular problem in this particular area of Chennai, I'm going to solve it for them, right? So just narrow down to a fine segment so that you can really understand the customer and you really can understand the value proposition for the customer, and you can really validate your idea and whether you can make money from this, right? Otherwise, again, you'll actually you will go from one customer to another customer, and you will kind of have you will not be able to kind of get to the bottom of the problem and solve it really well. And by trying to scale too fast, you'll also make your energy spread across so many things that you'll kind of you'll kind of not be able to make a lot of progress. You'll keep your legs and hands in so many things that you'll not be able to kind of focus on something and do it, right? So that's another challenge. I think I had this, right? I said, hey, freelancers, startups, small businesses, companies who have employees who want to work remote, that will be my target segment. I had like too many of them in the first 6 months of GoFloaters, right? Then we said, hey, none of these guys are our customers. Just the uh, uh, freelancers and 1-2 employee companies are our customers, right? So we just focused on just one individual who wants to have a space, or 2 people who want to meet as our customer segment, and then just went to that, right? So that's probably, and that's why we were able to survive at least for 2.5 years. Otherwise, if I'd gone with everybody is a customer, probably GoFloaters would be history like long before this webinar. So one second, yeah. So the other inhibition or challenge that I had, right? This is more again, some of you may also have this challenge as you get to become an entrepreneur. Like I said in my case, right? My background was 18 years of corporate experience. I had run big teams, right? I had big responsibilities, had a great designation, I had great respect in the company. Then you become an entrepreneur, then you're all alone selling things to people, right? So you have a lot of inhibitions. Hey, should I go introduce myself to somebody? Should I go pitch about my idea to somebody? Should I go ask if they have the problem? Should I go ask them for the validation of this idea? Should I go sell it to them? Should I ask them for money, right? So you become little reluctant to do a few things, right? So that I would say is a big inhibition for your growth, right? Because you as an entrepreneur, you as the business owner, have to be the first marketer, seller of your idea, right? If you can't do this yourself, nobody else in your team is going to be able to do that, right? You have, and the best, in my opinion, the best type of leadership is to lead it by example, right? So if you can't set the example for your team and lead from front and being the first salesman and be shameless about it, it's not going to help your idea, right? So again, that's for me. It was a big learning because of my background and all that. So I had to unlearn that I'm so and so and kind of get to this. Okay. Now let's say so you've come beyond that, right? You've now convinced yourself to become an entrepreneur. Then you've spent 3-4 months your startup idea, you've got some initial validation, you've understood the problem better, right? You have some customers, paying customers, hopefully, right? And slowly some progress is happening, right? Now you're thinking that hey, I should shift from gear 1 to gear 2, right? So I'm talking about challenges that come up along the way when you shift from gear 1 to gear 2, right? So uh, so this is a question that you kind of will have to answer for yourself, right? So should I focus on creating value for the customer, or should I think about scaling, right? So here again the same mentor I'm talking about, I mentioned about Sukumar, right? So he beautifully answered this to me, right? When I told him, hey, I have got 100 bookings, what should I do, right? Should I now expand into Bangalore and other cities, or should I just stay put in Chennai and try to solve this problem deeper and deeper for the Chennai market? Right? So he kind of put it in a very simple way, right? Is that as any business for that matter, right? You can either solve for value or you can solve for scale, right? You can't drive. So if value is one horse, scale is another horse, right? You can't ride both horses at the same time, right? At least in the early stages, you should not try and do that, right? You and me are not Ajay Devgans to have one leg on one car and on a car and try at the same time, right? So you have to focus on value, or you can focus on right? Something called value hypothesis. You have a hypothesis that by doing this, by building this technology or by building this service, this kind of market, you're going to create value, you're going to add value to your customer, and you're going to give them value, and hence you're going to get from them. You have a value hypothesis, so this is how value will be perceived by the user, and for that perceived value, they're going to pay you something for it, right? The second hypothesis is that scale. If I did A, B, C, D, E, I can take this X and make 10X. Right? I can make or X into 4X, or in one store I can have a location, I can have 2 franchisee locations or 3 franchisee locations, or instead of just in focusing the service in one city, I can do cities, 3, or instead of one customer segment, I can take it to 5 the customer segments, right? So that comes much later, in my opinion, in any startup's journey, right? So scale is not something that you should focus on. At least again, we're talking about early stage companies or early stage startups. So forget about scale for some time, right? Just focus on value, value, value. And the moment you start doing that, scale in a way will automatically take care of itself, right? So again, coming to GoFloaters example, again, after consulting with my mentor, right, and after deciding that, hey, we're going to focus this on value, we didn't have to do any marketing, right? We didn't have to do anything, because just through the value that we will deliver, we got so much of referrals and so much of word of mouth marketing that happened automatically, because we really focused on giving value to the customer, right? And only when the perceived value was really high, and then they say, hey, for this value, whatever you're charging me, absolutely makes sense, right? It's a blessing in disguise. So I'm happy to spread the word to somebody else, right? So that's basically, I would say, is probably the right way to do it in the early stages of any startup or any business. Now, as you start scaling or you start growing your business, right, you will start having to look at many things. Say, hey, I need to build a technology. I need to manage operations. I need to like GST, accounting. A lot of things are happening. I need to sell. I need to do email marketing. I need to do phone calling. I need to probably go physically visit people or have a video call with people or whatever, right? And finally, I need to support my customers. I need to be taking their calls, taking their chats, taking their emails, and responding to them, right? So what do you do, right? Do you hire people for each of these things, or what's the alternative, right? My advice or my learning from this is like, you as core team, right? If it's you and your co-founder or you and partners, you do everything, right? I would say like delay the hiring decision as much as possible, right? Hiring too early is not only a money problem for a startup, it's like suddenly you start to spend money on employees that you've hired, but it also adds a lot more challenges that it makes you less nimble to change, right? Because once you hire somebody saying that, hey, I'm going to build this, right? They join you for that, right? And then you decide that, hey, I'm not going to build this because my market tells me that there's an opportunity elsewhere, and you want to pivot to that. Your employees could become a friction in that area, right? Hey, you hired me for this, right? And now you're asking me to do this, right? I didn't come in for this, right? So that could become a challenge, right? Or they might not understand the priorities, and they might say, hey, what's wrong with this, right? Let's continue doing this, right? So I would say, don't hire till you must hire, because there's no, if you didn't hire, if your business cannot run the next day, if you don't have an additional employee who does a specialized role, then hire, right? Till that point in time, if it's you, then you become a single man army, a Swiss Army knife that can do everything, or you just, with your own core team of partners, your friends, or whoever has co-founders who come together, just run the show with that, right? It would be my tip or advice there, right? Um, so how do you, and when you're kind of growing, right, the different things, like I said in the previous slide, multiple things you have to focus on, right? Hey, how do I focus on sales? How do I focus on marketing? How do I focus on technology? What should I spend my time on? See, the most important asset that you have is time, right? In the early stage startup, right? You might not have the money, might not be the biggest asset, right? But time is the biggest asset, right? So you as a founder, every second of your time, and this is another mentor of mine called Ramesh, right? So Ramesh told me a concept called time value of money, right? Money value of time, right? So he said, uh, if you were working in a company and you were earning X rupees of salary a month, right? So there is so for example, every hour I would work if I had a salaried job, every hour probably my rate is like 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, right? That's an opportunity cost. But then you as an entrepreneur probably have every hour is probably worth even more. It's probably worth 10,000 rupees or even worth more than that, right? So if you put value in terms of money to your time, then you can then decide what is the best use of your time, right? Is my time best used in kind of attending a webinar, which you are doing now? So I'm hoping that you think that this is the best use of your time, or is it better that I should go attend an event, or I should go kind of get certified in doing something, or I should build software for my startup, or I should do GST accounting for my startup? What is the best use of my time, right? So if you put a money value to your time, it's very easy for you to prioritize, right? Otherwise, you think my time is always there, I can always use time the way I want, and it becomes a very fluid thing, and you don't start valuing that time, right? And there's a formula that I found out to help you prioritize on things, right? It's called ICE, right? Impact, confidence, and ease, right? So if you had 10 tasks that you have to do, right? I have to do this marketing campaign, I have to talk to 10 customers to convert them, potential leads into customers, and I have to do this email marketing for 1,000 email databases that I have right now, or I should read this, I should kind of attend this course and do this course on something, or become certified in something, right? Let's say you had like five different things that you could do today or tomorrow, right? I would ask you to look up this ICE formula. It's from the guy who also coined the uh, 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 word called growth hacking, right? So I found this formula to be very personally very useful for me, right? So every activity on your list is having an impact. What's the impact it is going to have to my business, right? And I will say the only impact that is worthwhile measuring is revenue, right? So if I do A, B, C, D thing, if I do task A, what is the revenue impact it is going to have on my business, right? What is the confidence level that I have that it will have this revenue impact, right? So when I say confidence level, what is the probability, right? Hey, if I did this, not everything could have a 100% probability. Right? I can get 10,000 rupees of revenue from this, but at 80% confidence or 70% confidence, right? And what is the ease of doing this task, right? Ease kind of translates to how much time or effort it is going to take for me to do this, right? So something could take you 10 days to do this, right? Or something could take you 10 minutes to do it, but its confidence, it could have like 0.01% probability of it converting. Let's take an example of you doing 10 cold calls and you sending thousands of emails, bulk email, right? So the ease of sending 1,000 bulk emails is very, very low. Obviously, ease of doing 10 cold calls is much tougher. You have to spend more time on that, right? And you have to practice the pitch and all that, right? the confidence level is much higher when you do cold calling, provided you have the right people that you want to call, right? Whereas the confidence level or the probability of some sale happening through email marketing is very, very low, right? I mean, just 10% of people might open the emails, right? Open itself is 10% or lesser, right? And somebody reacting to the email is like even less, and somebody reacting to it, then becoming a cold lead, then a warm lead, then converting the customer is even less, right? Whereas if you think that, hey, if I do 10 sales, 10 cold call, I can convert one customer, and from each customer I can get a revenue of 10,000 rupees. You should do the cold calling, right? I mean, not do the easier thing that or the quicker thing, which is the email marketing, right? So that's how you can use this formula to kind of prioritize your time. And for me, it's kind of worked really well. Just remember ICE, right? Impact, confidence, and ease, or impact, confidence, and effort. The other thing that I would say is like any ideas. I would say like first try to sell the idea or sell your product or sell your concept. I mean, whatever you build, whatever you think you've built, right? Before you start doing marketing, right? So this is another mistake that I did with my startup again, GoFloaters, right? Suddenly, hey, marketing is easy, right? Hey, you put 100 rupees, you get 2 installs. I mean, on an average, we're getting 7 rupees per install of our GoFloaters app. And it's the easiest thing, right? But if on an average, if like 10 people are installing my app every day, if you put 1,000 rupees and I run a marketing campaign for like 1 week, suddenly from 10 installs a day, it's going to become like 50 installs a day or 100 installs a day, right? It's the easiest thing to do, right? Because you just have to sit here, sitting in the laptop, and you just click a button and you load the money. It's going to happen, right? But very soon you will realize that money will just run out very quickly, right? So you might, and even though like 50 people installed, those people might not sign up on your app or might not be using your app because you don't put the right value proposition to them, right? You don't understand what they were looking for. You don't provide them the value proposition, and you don't provide the reason why they should be using whatever you're trying to sell to them, right? So I would say in these stages, don't even go anywhere near marketing, right? Paid marketing. I'm specifically talking about paid marketing, paid ads, right? Don't do that, right? So for example, right? So we started to do paid ads and all that, right? Then realized that the customer quality was pretty low, right? Then obviously our website was pretty new, so it was not high on SEO and all that. So the best trick that worked for GoFloaters is to, apart from the word of mouth marketing that I talked about, was to kind of answer a lot of questions on Quora, right? Because people are searching for something specific and they land up on a Quora question because they have a high intent of finding an answer for that question, right? And if your answer is one of the best written answers there, then they're going to come to your website with a very high intent of converting, right? The high intent of consuming whatever you're trying to do, right? So that was, and answering a Quora on Quora is the cheapest thing that you can do, right? It's zero cost. All it takes is your time, right? So and by answering those questions and looking at other answers and looking at the comments that come to your answer, you also get to understand the market better, right? So I would say like in the initial 7-8 months, right, Quora was our biggest lead source for GoFloaters beyond my own network or beyond my co-founders network of people and people that we knew and all that. It's the biggest referral traffic that we got to our website was from Quora, right? A lot of people signed up, hey, I saw your answer on Quora, and I kind of found you guys, and that's how I come and sign up, right? So that will be my next. So next challenge is like, hey, if you're a lone shark out there, your next biggest challenge will be to find a co-founder, right? And I was of the opinion that I don't need a co-founder, but I was proven wrong because it's not very easy to be a single founder running a company. It's like, you need somebody else to bounce off ideas. You can't always go to a mentor and ask them for ideas, and you need somebody who's equally has a vested interest in the idea succeeding or the startup succeeding, right? Mentors may not have the same kind of commitment a co-founder would obviously have, right? So finding a co-founder is, I would say, a challenge that you should do, right? But and they a lot of people compare finding a co-founder or having a co-founder to that of a marriage or to a spouse kind of an alliance, right? I think that's true, right? I would say like you have to spend enough time in kind of finding the co-founder. The only tip I would say is like don't be very desperate, right? Don't be like don't go to every event and then figure out whether you're going to find a co-founder in that event or in that particular meetup, right? Or don't go to start talking to people saying, hey, I'm looking for a co-founder, put it on Facebook or put it on saying, I'm looking for a co-founder or things like that. Being desperate is the last thing that you want to do, because being desperate, you'll also, sorry, one second, guys, just on the light. you will also make the wrong decision. And I did make it a wrong decision with my first co-founder, right? I don't want to name and all that, but it didn't work out, right? So, but my second co-founder at GoFloaters, it's working really well because both of us were just conversing with each other on the idea of gig economy and startups in India for almost 2.5 months, right? We were just talking. We didn't have any prior thoughts that we want to become a co-founder, right? So we just were talking, chatting. Hey, this is what's happening. This is what's changing, and what's interesting to you. What's interesting to me. What seems to be right. And after 2.5 months of conversing over different topics, is when we realized that hey, we seem to be agreeing on many things and disagreeing on things that are interesting debates to have, right? Why don't we just join forces and build GoFloaters together, right? And that's how I got my co-founder, which is Srivatsan, right? So I would say like that's probably a better approach to find a co-founder rather than talk to everybody thinking that that person could become a co-founder, right? And very approach it in a very mathematical and logical way, right? I would say probably might not be the good idea, right? Obviously, if you have a friend you've known for long enough, if you know somebody from your previous professional career who's a good fit, and obviously the decision could be much faster and quicker. But otherwise you have to take it slow and wait for the right time and right person, right? Now, hey, again, are we okay, guys? I'm sorry, I had to slow down to explain the things, but are we okay? Any quick show of hands?
I think we are fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll probably try to quickly wrap this up, right? So the next challenge could be hiring. How do you hire for your startup, right? And again, this was a problem for GoFloaters, right? I was trying to hire a tech lead for my startup, right? And 9 out of 10 cases, the candidate was not good, right? And in that one case, when the candidate was good, the candidate was asking for salary that I couldn't afford, right? As a startup, as a bootstrap startup, I couldn't afford that salary, right? And this kept on happening for 3 months, 4 months. I was the techie, right? So I was building the software and all that. But I wanted to give it off to somebody so that I can spend my time on sales and meeting people and things like that, and rather than working on software, right? Because again, that's the best use of my time, right? So it was always a challenge, right? So then I realized that I was doing this all wrong, right? I was trying to give them a job, right? And which is why they were looking for a salary, right? I didn't give them a journey. I didn't give them an exciting thing to do, right? I was saying, hey, this is the job. You need to build this software. You need to build this app. You need to build this website. You need to build this backend technology. You need to code on this technology. You need to learn these things, right? I was giving them a job, and they were seeing this as a job, and they were asking for salary that is befitting to that job, right? But then once I changed the approach, right? I changed the approach and said, hey, this is the journey that GoFloaters is going to take. This is the vision of the company. This is what we want to become in 10 years from now, right? And this is the problem that we're trying to solve, right? We are becoming the first kind of startup or first kind of business to look at office space in a different way, right? We're kind of radicalizing or revolutionizing the commercial real estate segment, and we're kind of coming up with a different alternative to the whole thing. Is when the hiring became so much more easier for me, right? I could get my tech lead after changing the approach of hiring, and kind of, so my biggest currency was vision, right? But instead of selling that currency of vision, I was trying to sell the task at hand, or the immediate activity at hand, and which is the wrong approach, right? That's another advice I would give, right? So if your vision is strong and exciting for you, and if it potentially exciting for somebody else, that's probably what you should kind of pitch it to a potential candidate that you want to hire, and get them on that, right? Rather than, and when you do that, and when they want to get better to your journey, salary for them becomes very, very little important. If they think that, hey, I can accomplish so much in my career by doing this, and I can learn so much, and I can have this experience of building something radically new, people would be okay to kind of negotiate on salary, or people would be okay to even take a salary cut from the previous job that they currently have, right? Because if you show them they can do something great with their lives, I think that's they would be willing to do this, right? And my last thing is like all of us would be thrown external challenges beyond your belief, right? And this COVID itself has been a tremendous challenge for many of us, right? And it's been a disaster. If I see it in one way, it has been a disaster for GoFloaters, because at the end of the day, we are offering a space for people to work and meet when everybody's locked up at home. Obviously, there's no business, right? So this came as a big challenge to us, and we were looking at ways to do it, right? But the only helpful tool that you can have with in your arsenal with your facing fictional challenges is to be very adapt to the situation and to kind of, when, like they say, right, when life gives you lemons, make a lemonade out of it, right? You can't just brood over it and say, hey, I got lemons, right? I didn't get a better deal. But then you can brood over it, or you can just make lemonade out of it and then sell that lemonade to somebody and make money from it, right? That's exactly what we did, right? So we kind of looked around this problem and say, Sundar, hey, how can this problem that's a problem for every business out there, how can we convert this into an opportunity, right? And then we came up with a new solution which is doing pretty.
Hello.
Hello.
Isha.
I
We lost
think
Shyam.
only we lost Shyam, I think. So rest are there.
Yeah, all of us are here.
Yeah, we are here.
Okay. He's on mute.
He's on mute. Shyam, you're on mute.
No, it said that the host just put you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
I think I've been taken out of. I'm no longer the host. I think the screen sharing is also been taken off. Anyway, so I think I'm come to the end of it, right? I know I stretched 3 minutes over, but basically those I would say are the challenges that I faced, right? Again, like I said, there could be hundreds of challenges. I can't talk about a challenge that I've not faced because that's not going to be true from my experience. I don't want to take up general things, right? And theoretically talk about it. So these are a bunch of challenges that I faced, and this is how we approached it and solved most of them. And again, with that, I'll kind of turn it over to if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'll wish you all the best, all of you, and with your own journeys. And happy to help. Happy to get into calls, and happy to get into LinkedIn conversations with any of you if you want to further discuss any of these things.
Great. Yes, I think we had a great session from you, Mr. Shyam. And I would like to ask a few questions which we received before the session started, like during the survey.
Right.
And so the first question is from the first question is about what are the current e-commerce business opportunities during this, I mean, based on this pandemic situation.
Right. So there's an interesting way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
So what are the ideas that are corona positive, right? So what are the ideas that are going to be much more welcomed by the post-pandemic world, right? So anything that's edutech is obviously doing really well, right? Anything where you can deliver a service without a physical contact, right? Physical presence in a particular location is going to be welcomed by people, right? Anything that doesn't, anything that digitizes something where you have to give money and take money is going to be helpful, right? And anything where the people, I mean, there's going to be in my opinion, there are going to be like 2 stages post-corona, right? A stage between now and the time that a vaccine is found.
Yeah.
Like the world is going to behave in a particular way.
Right.
And the moment a vaccine is found, the world is going to behave in a completely different way, is my opinion, right? So, something so with that in mind, I would say, and also, it's people say that it takes like 30 days for something to become a habit for somebody, right? So if your idea can become a habit for somebody in the next 30 days, it could survey the post-vaccine world as well, right? But otherwise, if your idea is only true for the next, I mean, when people are paranoid about getting infected, right? People are paranoid about going and meeting people, or exchanging things or traveling, right? People are paranoid about doing that. But once the vaccine is found, I think people will be complete. In my opinion, it will be fine about traveling, right? People will be fine about meeting people and things like that. Right? So if your ideas cannot survive the post-vaccine world, it's probably not great. It's not going to survive for too long, right? So having said that, anything that's education, healthcare, fitness, eating, health, general health and wellness related things, anything that is e-commerce, a lot of e-commerces are picking up, right? A lot of offline to online connected e-commerces are picking, right? Hey, you order from the store nearby and you get it delivered to your home, right? A lot of those kind of ideas are kind of picking up. Very interesting ideas that are picking up, right? And also, like, there's a lot of huge opportunity where companies start to embrace remote working and companies start to embrace distributed working. There's a lot of opportunities in kind of building SaaS software for this kind of a distributed remote working world, right? Transportation will be different, right? Before and after, right? So a lot of those kind of things, I think businesses could kind of pick up, right? And again, a lot of businesses that are always looking for a very far future, right? I mean, startups that are in solving a real tough challenge that is going to remain in the future also, right? So I mean, those are going to continue to remain, right? So you might have a temporary dip, but it's going to survive beyond it, right? So that's my take. Again, I cannot say too much about this thing because my domain expertise is with respect to marketplaces and B2C startups.
Right. The next question would be, what factors motivated you to build the current Untitled?
See, I think my biggest, I would say, more than motivation, my biggest gripe when I was working for a large corporate company was like, I built, like, I very passionately built a lot of software solutions for my clients, right? But I couldn't really see them using it. I couldn't really see them, using it in their daily lives and telling me, hey, this is what's working, it's not what's working, right? So so for me, for my jump into entrepreneurship, my biggest gripe or biggest frustration was like, hey, I don't know who even the customer is. I built a software product for an enterprise. I don't even know the customer. I've not seen a customer I ever in my life, right? 18 years that I've worked, I've never ever talked to an actual customer of the software that I've built, right? That's what happens when you work for an IT service company and specifically an MNC, right? You don't get to talk to the actual customer, right? So ever, right? So that was my biggest frustration. And my answer to that, slowly, like I said, over the 2.5 years, I realized that if I had to get that satisfaction of actually solving the problem for a real customer, I can meet and I can talk to, I can really see if my solution is working or not working, is to become an entrepreneur and do a B2C kind of startup, right? So that was my first frustration that became a motivation for my first startup, right? For the second startup, this GoFloaters, it is my own frustration, right? So I was traveling in Chennai, I was meeting different people. My only option for finding a meeting space or a workspace was to kind of go to a cafe coffee day or a Starbucks and spend like 500 rupees, buy a coffee or buy something, eat there, even though I only wanted the space, right? So 9 out of 10 times I didn't enter any of these cafes because I loved the coffee, right? The coffee was like a burden that was put on me, right? So this became so frustrating for me that I said, hey, so a lot of us have this, right? A lot of us face a lot of challenges, right? But then we say, hey, this is how the world is made, right? Hey, this is how it works, right? I mean, if you want to meet somebody, you got to find out a restaurant or a cafe and go there and order something, meet, right? If you can't afford a meeting room or if you can't afford a conference room, that's the only way to do it, right? But for some reason, I didn't want to just stick with, hey, that's the way the world is. I said, hey, there should be a better way to do this, right? Why, if you want only the space, why pay for the food, right? Or why honestly spend money on something that you don't want, right? And that's basically that frustration kind of became the motivation to solve that problem. That basically was the start of GoFloaters.
Right. And next one is about raising a funding for the startup. So what are your thoughts on about raising a funding for the startup, or maybe do you prefer bootstrapping a startup?
Yeah, so I think getting money from somebody else too early is also not really good, right? And so again, I'll be frank, right? So we have raised some seed money from friends and family, right? We've not raised any professional money from an external investor like angel or a seed investor, right, or a VC. We've not done that, right? So I can't really talk about that as we've not done that, right? But I would say like even the fact that a couple of friends have done a seed investment on us, suddenly your level of responsibilities can have become 10x, right? Now you're not responsible for your own money, but you're also responsible for somebody else's money, right? Like I said in one of my slides earlier, trying to scale it too early is also not good, right? You need to really only when you know, hey, you've got what they call it product market fit, right? But I don't want to introduce a jargon right now, right? But if I'm introducing this to just answer it, once you don't know if this product is really having a fit in the market and people are willing to pay money, right? People find your value proposition useful for them, right? Then you start to kind of think about scale, right? And then once you've figured out all the pieces of the puzzle and you have a fair idea and you want to scale, and if money becomes a precursor for that scale, then by all means go raise money, right? But if you're not even come to that point, trying to raise money I think is going to accelerate bad decisions, right? And we've seen this multiple times around where multiple startups have raised tons of money and they've just accelerated the number of bad decisions they make and then go nowhere suddenly, right? So don't raise money if you don't have to. If you can chug along bootstrap, that will be my advice.
Great. So I'm trying to pick up questions from the chat window as well. I'll probably pick up one question. So there's a question from Suraj. How to conclude if my idea has failed or if my idea is successful? How do I conclude when I'm a startup entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a very tough question, right? Because you kind of don't have there's no like one formula, right? If you A into B into C and if you get a answer greater than 10, it's like you can't do a COVID positive testing for an idea, right? You can't know the answer, right? But I think if you've spent 1 year with an idea, right, and you still not come far enough that you want to come, right? You're still struggling on basic things, right? Your value is not being delivered to customers. You're not able to generate enough revenue from it. Or the simplest test, I think the first litmus test, like whatever idea or whatever problem that you're trying to solve, right? If people don't understand, when I say, hey, this is the problem that you're trying to solve, right? If you don't see enough people agreeing to it, then you probably either you have the wrong problem or you're saying it wrong, right? Same thing with the idea, right? If you can't simply explain it to somebody and they don't get it, then you are working on something. You have to simplify it down. You have to make it much smaller, probably in the whole scope of things, and make it really small, right? I do this to solve this, right? If you cannot say this in one sentence, then you're probably trying to do too many things, and hence you might not be able to make progress, right? So look at simplifying things. Like I said, one customer, delight that one customer. Don't make it a feature like pack thing, right? Just one few things that give value to the customer, right? Not bells and whistles, right? So if you, after doing this also, if you think like you spent a consumed number of time, energy, and money, and then you're not anywhere close to break even, then I think it's best thing is to quit that idea, right? And quitting need not be only because the idea was wrong or the problem was wrong, right? Obviously, those are the biggest reasons why it could be wrong, but the timing could also be wrong, right? And a lot of people say product market fit, but there's also a founder product fit or a founder market fit. Right? Are you the right person to solve that problem, right? Just because something was interesting, just because everybody's talking about blockchain, you pick up something on blockchain, you want to do something on it, and you say, hey, nothing's working. Hey, but are you the right way to work on blockchain, right? Are you the best talent out there in the market that can solve it? So if you're not the one, then probably it's a good idea to switch into something else that's your own home terrain.
Okay, so I can take up one final question. I think I will conclude after this, and this is from Suman. He's asking if there is any advice on financial services and investment businesses, which is usually a traditional business related to funding. So it's on the chat window.
Yeah, I'm reading the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of understanding this question that someone has an idea that does something unique. There's a he's trying to do something that's different from the traditional business, but
Yes.
the domain or industry itself is traditional. How do I go about raising money for the idea, right? So I think fintech had a blast of a year last year and the year before last, right? And it's probably going to continue in the future as well, right? Fintech ideas, you will see like multiple fintech ideas that have come up, right? From payment gateways to uh, other companies like Razorpay, Instamojo, to companies that automate a lot of financial settlements and GST accounting software that you have, right? So generally, I mean, software or even fintech solution or even peer-to-peer lending per se, or crowdfunding startups and all, right? A lot of fintech ideas have really done well in the recent past, right? So I think the general sentiment of investors around fintech ideas is overall positive, right? Even though they would probably go slow before post-COVID or because of COVID, but I think fintech is not an area, in my opinion, that investors are going to shy away from. They're not going to not going to run away from it, but right, but certain segments they are running away from it. Hey, we don't want to touch the segment post Corona, right? So if you have a real, like I said, right, and I would say like this is something I didn't cover, but you you have to get your startup to an idea where the money is only going to help you grow, right? If the money is needed for you to survive, no startup, no funding agent is going to fund you, right? If you're desperate, hey, if you didn't have the money, I'm going to close my company, then I'm going to. Probably that's not the reason why they'll fund you, right? They'll fund you only because they think that once they put the money, you can grow from X to, you can go from point A to point B, or you can do 4x of what you're doing right now, right? So if you think that you are not there yet, then like I said, don't go and try to raise money, right? And post COVID, this is something I heard from an angel VC, right? So usually startups are advised to have 3 months ahead of runway, right? At least barring on 3 months money in the bank to run the next 3 months, right? But I think post COVID, I would increase from 3 months to probably 6 months or 9 months, right? So you should be able to run it with your own sources of funding, right? And it would be even good if the source of funding is revenue, right? If you're actually making money and that money can be put back into the business to run the show for as long as you can, and then you go raise money for it, I think people will be willing to do it, right? But I do see since we are also we are right now looking at funding, right? So I'm talking to a lot of investors right now. Sentiments are not too great. I mean, as you can probably imagine, right? So don't be too optimistic or too hey here hey, this is a great idea, so you ought to fund me, or it's my birthright for me to get funding from you, right? That's not going to happen, right? A lot of scrutiny is going to happen, a lot of dissection of your traction, how much of revenue have you made, what's the unit economics of your product or whatever you're doing. So a lot of things are going to be looked at. So if you're not ready with it, get ready with that first, and then go ask for money. But fintech is definitely a good place to be in if you're already in that.
Right. Yeah, I think we will conclude the session now. Thank you so much, Shyam, for a great insight on the topic of challenges faced by startups during initial stages. And I hope you like the session, the way we conducted the session, and Qfuss is actually like you said, you wouldn't have done this without a mentor, and I think Qfuss is helping more budding entrepreneurs like you to get to the answers and that experience which the mentors have before making that mistake. And it was a great session with you. And do you have any final words that you want to conclude with?
Yeah, so I mean, I think no final words. All I will say is like all the best to every one of you, who's watching it now and who's going to watch it later. I mean, it's probably like there are probably millions of newer opportunities are going to come by post COVID, right? So your own business, if you're already into entrepreneurship, if you would have faced, you could have probably faced a lot of bad luck during this time. But look at is there a silver lining, right? Could you change your idea to something else that suddenly becomes a lot more? This is probably a great time to look at what's gone wrong and fix those things. We were doing that, right? So we said, hey, this 2.5 months, We're not going to get customers. We're not going to get revenue. We're not going to have support calls and all that, right? So let's put that money, invest that time that we have now into processes, into the business itself, right? And how do we make it better, right? And also reprioritize, right? So we kind of did a lot of reprioritization during this time, because a lot of times when you're running fast, right, you seldom get time to think about the race that you're running.
Right.
Are you running it right? Are you doing it right, right? But now this time was a great time for you to for us to kind of look at, are we've killed a lot of things that we think that didn't make sense, right? So we were just doing it because, hey, we've been doing this for 2.5 years, let's continue doing it, right? So we said, hey, no, it doesn't make sense to do this thing anymore, because it's not going to add value to us, and we're spending too much of energy and time in doing this. Rather, we focus on something else, right? So that's probably a good time. So use this time judiciously and look at ways in which you could pivot your current business, if you're doing one, into something that becomes COVID positive.
Right. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much for attending the webinar. Hope you all liked it, and I think Shyam will soon be a mentor who can address all your queries, and you can all have a one-on-one chat with Shyam through Qfuss, and that will be soon available to all the viewers and all the people who have attended the webinar today. And if there is something that specifically you need to write and you want your questions or you want your queries to be answered, please write to us, info@qfuss.com. And also visit our webpage, www.qfuss.com. And now there is a 1-month free trial that's going on, and you can subscribe for free. Thank you so much, Shyam. Thank you for your great session on the same.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Thanks for the opportunity, Roman and Siddharth. All the best, everyone. And I mean, the best way to connect with me apart from Qfuss is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So look me up, and if you want to connect, please do.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a
All
good
the best.
day.
Bye-bye.